Hello everyone, and welcome to our program. Today we are discussing a question that many communities think about. Should the minimum driving age be increased to 18? This is a topic that brings up strong feelings and important points on all sides. It's about safety on our roads, but it's also about the freedom and development of young people. There are good arguments for changing the current rules and also strong reasons to keep them as they are, or perhaps improve them in other ways. We want to explore these different ideas carefully today. To help us understand the different views, we have two expert guests with us. First, we have Sarah Evans. Sarah is a strong supporter of road safety and also a parent. She believes the driving age should be higher. Welcome, Sarah. And second, we have Tomoko Inoue. Tomoko is a driving instructor and works closely with young people. She thinks increasing the age is not the best idea. Welcome to you too, Tomoko. Today, Sarah and Tomoko will each start by giving their main arguments. After that, they will have a chance to respond to each other's points. Then, we will have a discussion where I will ask some more questions. Finally, they will each give a short closing statement. We hope this will give you a clear picture of this important debate.
Thank you, Alex. It's good to be here to talk about this very important issue. I believe strongly that the minimum driving age should be increased to 18. My main reason is to make our roads safer for everyone. Let's start by thinking about young teenagers, like 16-year-olds. At that age, they are often not mature enough for the huge responsibility of driving a car. Science tells us that their brains are still developing, especially the part that controls impulses and helps understand big risks. This means it's naturally harder for them to always make calm, sensible decisions, especially in difficult driving situations. They might react too quickly or not see a danger until it's too late. This isn't because they are bad kids, it's just a part of growing up. Then, we have the accident statistics. These numbers are very worrying. Year after year, data shows that 16 and 17-year-old drivers have significantly more accidents per mile driven compared to older, more experienced drivers. These aren't just small bumps. Often they are serious crashes that can cause terrible injuries or even death. This is a serious public health problem, and it affects not just the young drivers, but everyone who uses the roads: pedestrians, cyclists, and other drivers. We also need to consider emotional factors. Younger drivers can be more easily influenced by friends in the car. Having passengers of a similar age can sometimes encourage risky behaviors, like speeding or not paying attention. Also, young people are learning to manage stress from school, social life, and other pressures. Driving can add another big stress. Some people might say that current rules, like graduated driver licensing, are enough. These programs are helpful, but they don't remove the basic problem of immaturity. Even with these programs, the accident rates for the youngest drivers remain too high in many places. Therefore, I believe increasing the driving age to 18 is a necessary and sensible step. It's not about punishing young people. It's about protecting them and everyone else on the road. It gives young people more valuable time to grow, to learn, and to become responsible adults before they take on the complex task of driving. Those extra 2 years can make a very big difference in their judgment and their ability to handle a vehicle safely.
Thank you, Alex and Sarah. I appreciate the chance to offer a different view on this matter. While I agree that road safety is extremely important, I don't believe that increasing the minimum driving age to 18 is the best or fairest solution. For many young people, driving is very important. It's not just a luxury. It's often a necessity. They need to drive to get to school or college, especially if these are far from home. Many teenagers also have part-time jobs, and a car helps them to be reliable employees. Think about communities where public transport is not very good, or perhaps doesn't exist at all, especially in rural areas. In these places, not being able to drive can really limit a young person's opportunities for education, work, and even social activities that are part of growing up. This can make them too dependent on their parents for longer than necessary. Next, let's talk about graduated driver licensing, or GDL programs. Many countries and states already have these. These programs are designed to let young people gain driving experience slowly and in safer conditions. For example, new young drivers might have rules about not driving late at night or not having young passengers in the car unless an adult is present. They also require a certain number of supervised driving hours. These GDL programs have been shown to reduce accidents involving young drivers when they are well designed and properly enforced. The key is to make these programs strong and ensure everyone follows the rules. My third point is about experience versus age. Good, safe driving is much more about having good training and enough experience, not just about being a certain age. A well-trained 16-year-old who has had many hours of practice with a good instructor and responsible parents can actually be a safer driver than an 18-year-old who has just got their license with very little practice. Age itself doesn't automatically make someone a safe driver. Training and supervised experience do. So instead of simply raising the age, I believe we should focus our energy on improving driver education. We need to teach not just the rules of the road, but also decision-making skills, hazard perception, and the real dangers of things like using a phone while driving. We should also work to make GDL programs even stronger and more consistent everywhere. This approach helps young people to become responsible drivers by teaching them the skills and attitudes they need, rather than just delaying when they can start learning.
Thank you, Tomoko, for your points. I do understand that GDL programs are helpful, and I certainly agree that young people have needs for transport, for school, and for jobs. We all want young people to have opportunities. However, I must respectfully disagree that these factors outweigh the safety concerns. Tomoko mentioned that GDL programs are effective. And yes, they have made a difference. But the question is, are they enough? The accident rates for 16 and 17-year-old drivers are still too high in many places, even with GDL programs in place. This suggests that while GDL helps, it doesn't fully address the underlying issue of developmental maturity. The main issue, as I see it, really is about maturity. The human brain, particularly the part responsible for judgment and risk assessment, continues to develop well into the early 20s. An extra 2 years, from 16 to 18, can make a very significant difference in how a young person thinks about safety, responsibility, and the potential consequences of their actions. It's not just about knowing the rules, it's about having the mental ability to apply them consistently, especially under pressure or when distracted. Tomoko also talked about fairness, suggesting it's unfair to responsible teenagers. I understand this feeling. But road safety isn't just about the individual driver, it's about the safety of everyone in the community. The risk posed by the youngest group of drivers, as a whole, is statistically much higher. We have to consider this broader risk to public safety. It's a difficult decision, but sometimes rules are needed for the greater good, even if they seem to limit some individuals who might be exceptions. Ultimately, preventing accidents, injuries, and deaths must be our top priority. Dealing with the sad results of a crash is far harder than taking steps to prevent it in the first place. Giving young people more time to mature before they drive is a clear preventative measure.
Thank you, Sarah. You are absolutely right that safety on our roads is very, very important. We all share that goal. However, I believe we can achieve that safety without simply raising the driving age, which I think could have other negative effects. Sarah focuses a lot on maturity and suggests that 16-year-olds are generally not mature enough. While brain development is a factor, saying all 16-year-olds are not mature is, I think, too simple. Many young people at 16 are very responsible. They manage schoolwork, part-time jobs, and other commitments very well. It doesn't seem fair to punish all of them or delay their independence because of statistics that might be influenced by a smaller group who are less careful or by a lack of proper training. Instead of just raising the age, which is a very blunt tool, we should look at more specific solutions. We can make driver education much better. This means not just teaching them to pass a test, but really teaching them advanced decision-making skills, how to see and avoid hazards, and deeply understanding the dangers of distracted driving or driving when tired. We can use simulators, interactive workshops, and involve parents more in the training process. And yes, we can definitely make GDL rules stronger and more consistent. For example, we could increase the number of required supervised driving hours with a qualified instructor. We could also have stricter rules about mobile phone use for all new drivers, regardless of age, for the first year or two. Think about the message raising the age sends to young people. It can make them feel that society doesn't trust them, or that they are not capable. Learning to drive, under good supervision, is an important step towards becoming an independent and responsible adult. Delaying this can delay that growth in a negative way for some. It's about finding the right balance between safety and allowing young people to develop necessary life skills.
Thank you both for those clear responses. Sarah, you continue to focus on maturity and the overall safety statistics as key reasons for raising the age. And Tomoko, you are emphasizing the importance of better training, stronger GDL programs, and considering the practical needs and development of young people. Let's explore this a bit more. Sarah. Tomoko says raising the age punishes responsible teens and that not all 16-year-olds are immature. How do you respond to the idea that it's an unfair blanket rule for those who are ready?
That's a fair question, Alex, and it's one of the most difficult parts of this discussion. It is a difficult balance to find. Of course, we all know some 16-year-olds who are very mature and responsible, perhaps more so than some older individuals. However, laws often have to be made for the general situation, for the average, to protect the largest number of people possible. Think about other rules we have that are based on age. For example, rules for buying alcohol or for voting. We have these age limits because, as a society, we generally believe that people below that age, on average, are not yet fully ready for those specific responsibilities or rights. Driving a car is a very complex task. It requires constant attention, quick decisions, and an understanding of serious risks. If something goes wrong, the consequences can be devastating for many people. The statistics on accidents involving the youngest drivers are very clear and consistent across different regions. They show a higher risk. So while it might feel unfair to some very capable young individuals, the primary goal of this kind of law would be to reduce overall harm and save lives. We could also use those extra 2 years, from 16 to 18, to provide even better and more comprehensive pre-driving education in schools, focusing on risk awareness and responsible attitudes, even before they get near a car. This way, when they do start learning to drive at 18, they are even better prepared mentally.
Thank you, Sarah. Tomoko, Sarah makes a comparison to other age restrictions, like those for alcohol or voting, suggesting society sets these general age limits for important responsibilities. She also points back to the accident statistics as a very strong reason, arguing that the overall risk reduction is key. What are your thoughts on that comparison and the undeniable power of those accident statistics?
Alex, the comparison to alcohol or voting is interesting, but I don't think it's quite the same in this case. Access to alcohol is generally not considered a necessity for daily life or for participating in society. Voting is a civic right, but it doesn't involve the same kind of daily practical need as transport. Driving, for many young people, is often a necessity for getting to education, to work, or for helping their families, especially, as I said, in areas with poor public transport. Restricting that can have real negative impacts on their lives and future prospects. Now, about the statistics. Yes, It's true that younger drivers, as a group, are involved in more accidents. We cannot ignore that, and I don't want to. But we need to ask why this is the case. Is it only because of their age? Or is it significantly because of their lack of driving experience? If an 18-year-old, or even a 20-year-old, starts driving with no prior experience or training, they will also be at a high risk, just like any new driver. GDL programs are specifically designed to manage this risk by ensuring new drivers get good quality experience in safer, controlled conditions before they drive completely independently. If current GDL programs are not working perfectly in some areas, then the answer should be to improve them. For example, we could mandate more hours with a professional driving instructor, or use better, more realistic tests that assess actual driving skills and judgment, not just memory of rules. Focusing only on age might make us miss opportunities to make all new drivers safer, regardless of when they start.
That's a clear point about the role of experience. We're nearing the end of this section, so I'd like a final quick point from each of you on a specific challenge. Sarah, if the driving age isn't raised, what would be your absolute top alternative measure to improve safety for young drivers?
If the age isn't raised, then GDL programs must become much, much stricter. I mean significantly more supervised hours, perhaps for a full year. There should be zero tolerance for any risky behavior like speeding or phone use, with immediate and serious consequences. And perhaps we should seriously consider using technology in cars to monitor new young drivers for a period, like speed limiters or distraction monitors, to help them build safe habits.
Thank you, Sarah. And Tomoko, a similar question for you. There is clearly a lot of public anxiety about young drivers reflected in these debates. How can society best address this anxiety and help people feel more confident if the age remains as it is?
To address public anxiety, we need much more visible and consistent enforcement of the current GDL rules. People need to see that the rules are working. We also need positive public campaigns that highlight responsible young driving and the success of good driver education programs. Show the good examples. And, as I've said, continuous improvement of driver education is key, making it more comprehensive and focused on creating a safety-first mindset from the very beginning.
Thank you, Alex. We've had a very thorough discussion today, and we've talked a lot about safety, about the science of brain development, about statistics, and about the needs of young people. Throughout this, my main point has remained simple and clear. I firmly believe that 16 and 17-year-olds are, generally speaking, not yet ready for the very big responsibility that comes with driving a car. Their brains are still developing. This isn't a criticism, it's a scientific fact. This stage of development means they are naturally more likely to take risks and less able to fully understand long-term consequences, especially in fast-moving, complex situations like driving. The statistics on road accidents support this view very strongly. Young, inexperienced drivers are overrepresented in crashes, and these crashes often have tragic outcomes. We've heard arguments about graduated driver licensing programs and the importance of driver education. I agree that these things are valuable and play a role. Good education can teach skills and rules. GDL programs can provide a safer environment for initial learning. However, I believe they cannot fully make up for the fundamental lack of emotional and cognitive maturity that is common at these younger ages. They are helpful additions, but not a complete solution. Think for a moment about what our roads could be like. Imagine a future with fewer accidents involving our young people. Imagine fewer families grieving. Imagine parents feeling more at ease when their children reach driving age, knowing they have had more time to mature. Increasing the minimum driving age to 18 is not about restricting young people unfairly. It is a clear, practical, and proven way to make our roads significantly safer for everyone, for the young drivers themselves, for their passengers, and for all other road users. It gives them a better chance to start their driving careers safely and successfully, when they are better equipped to handle the challenges. This isn't about taking something away. It's about giving them a better, safer start. Let's make the choice that prioritizes safety above all. Let's give our young people the precious gift of a little more time to mature before they take the enormous responsibility of the wheel into their hands. It's a step towards a safer future for all of us.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Sarah, for this important conversation. Today, we have explored different ideas and approaches to help young drivers be as safe as possible on our roads. While I share everyone's deep concern for safety, I continue to believe that simply raising the minimum driving age to 18 is not the most effective or fair answer to this challenge. Doing so, I fear, unnecessarily limits young people's essential opportunities for education, for work, and for their personal development. It also doesn't fully address the core problem, which, in my view, is often more about a lack of thorough training and sufficient supervised experience, rather than just age alone. Instead of a simple age increase, I propose a more positive and constructive vision. Let's focus our efforts and resources on making our driver education programs truly excellent. This means education that goes far beyond just passing a test. It means teaching critical thinking, hazard perception, responsible attitudes, and a deep understanding of the risks involved in driving. We should also continue to strengthen and consistently enforce our graduated driver licensing systems. These systems are designed to allow young drivers to gain experience gradually, learning responsibility step by step in lower-risk conditions. We can make them even better by, for example, increasing requirements for professional instruction and ensuring parents are actively involved as co-pilots in their teens' learning journey. Learning to drive is a very important step towards becoming an independent and responsible adult. It's a skill that, once learned well, serves a person for life. Our role as a society should be to support and guide young people through this important process. With the best tools and systems we can provide, we should empower them with skills and knowledge, not just create more restrictions based primarily on their date of birth. Delaying the age might seem like an easy fix, but it could also delay the development of responsibility that comes from meeting challenges with good support. So my call to action is this. Let's invest seriously in better and more comprehensive driver education. Let's make our GDL systems robust and effective everywhere. And let's trust our young people that with the right guidance, the right education, and the right support systems, they can and will become safe and responsible drivers, ready to contribute positively to our communities. It's about building skills and responsibility, not just waiting for a birthday.
And that brings us to the end of our discussion today. I want to say a very big thank you to both our guests, Sarah Evans and Tomoko Inoue, for sharing your different perspectives and your valuable insights with us. You've both argued your points very clearly and passionately. We've heard strong and compelling arguments from Sarah for prioritizing road safety and addressing developmental maturity through a higher minimum driving age of 18. And we've heard equally strong and thoughtful arguments from Tomoko for focusing on comprehensive education, robust graduated driver licensing programs, and considering the practical needs and independence of young people. This is clearly a very complex issue, and as we've seen, there are no easy or simple answers that will satisfy everyone. What is clear, however, is that both our guests, and indeed most people who consider this topic, share the same fundamental goal. They want our young people to be safe and responsible on the roads. The disagreement lies in the best way to achieve that important goal. We hope that this discussion has given all of you listening a lot to think about, and perhaps a better understanding of the different factors